Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. Welcome to the Legends of Tynedale devlog number 5. I'd like to start by just saying a massive thanks to everyone leaving a like and subscribing. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy what you see, leave a like, and if you've not yet subscribed, please do. My last devlogs have mostly focused on the overworld design, so in this episode I wanted to discuss my dungeon design. My biggest influence is definitely Legend of Zelda, specifically Link's Awakening, which I think is just a great game. I really love 2D Zeldas and all the dungeon designs as well. The background to this video, in case you're wondering, is just me busying myself making the second dungeon. In my game, I'm planning on having a total of 4 main dungeons. This was going to be it, but I've got loads of puzzle designs, so it kind of made sense to squeeze in a mini dungeon, and I'm going to use that mini dungeon to teach the player about some upcoming mechanics that they're going to need in a far more demanding setting. I've also got a 5th sort of dungeon, which is going to be optional, but it's a mastery dungeon. I'm calling it Craigside House. This is where I really want the player to experience the really demanding puzzles, but if you're thinking why not put those demanding puzzles in the main dungeons, it's because I want every player to be able to succeed at completing the game without being stuck by some horrendous puzzle they can't solve. So the mastery dungeon is where you'll go if you've really mastered the game, and in the mastery dungeon is going to be a really awesome weapon that's possibly overpowered, but I think it's going to be a really cool reward. Alright, so you know one of my influences from games, but I've done a lot more than just focus on the one game. I've played a lot of Zeldas and taken a load of influence from Game Maker's Toolkit, especially the boss keys and King K retrospectives, which have been really helpful. Alright, so my dungeons are designed around 3 pillars: skill, puzzle, and action. Let me try and explain. So skill is really related to the player's movement and the player's ability to master the controls. So it might be walking a tightrope like in this example, dodging enemies, accuracy with the arrows, etc. Puzzles are one of the most fun elements of designing. It's really just mixing the mechanics together to try and create problems for the player that sort of change the pacing of the game. Like in this example, you can see the arrows are used to ignite bushes, which adds that extra element to the game. Action is the final pillar. I guess you could just call it combat, but action is possibly a better word. It's not just necessarily fighting, it might be also avoiding enemies and swarms and trying to control what's going on around you. This is quite typical in Zelda games, this kind of kill all enemies room. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but I just kind of feel like I want to introduce you to some of the ideas going on. The reasons for having these pillars on is because of pacing. If each dungeon strikes a balance between each pillar, then the player, so hopefully you guys, won't get bored because you've always got something else going on. Kind of keeps you on your toes and varies the challenge a bit. Of course, the best bit about these pillars is trying to put them together. So, for example, skill and puzzles. So this is about knowing the character's movements and how enemies and objects around you work. So in this example, you can see this Lumberdude, which is obviously the most amazing name for an enemy ever, has a certain amount of movement that you need to learn and you need to avoid. This actual bit happens quite early in the game because I really wanted the player to get used to the controls before they started combat and fighting. In fact, I quite like this bit because you can see the Lumberdude needs to be dragged around the bush away from the player, and then you sort of loop around and you can dodge him that way. This actually gets built on later and is one of those sort of early teaching points that you then need to remember and need to apply again. Skill and action orientates around movement and enemies, so this is just a quick example, but you can see how you've got the spikes you've got to navigate around, as well as enemies that might be coming into you. Puzzle and action is a really good combination. This is kind of like trying to get your enemies to do your dirty work for you. So in this example, you can't turn on the campfire yourself, so you manipulate the fire wizard to do it for you, and then you make use of that to solve the rest of the puzzle. And I kind of like this because what I'd really like is to have systems at play. So it's hard to program, but it works really well. So like here you can see, I think this is really exciting, the way that you can shoot the fireball with your arrow, which then ignites your arrow and then becomes part of a problem solution. Of course, I don't want to just have it so that each room has one of these pillars going on or a combination. A real design goal is to have it so the entire dungeon is the puzzle, and that influencing one area affects another. So I've got this example for you. This example is in Dungeon 2, and just to quickly explain it, when you hit the switch, it alternates between raising the green blocks or the purple blocks, which shut off part of the dungeon. This is quite an early example, and obviously will get more complicated as the dungeons come on, but it just helps with this idea of spatial complexity, which is the dream design. In other words, that whole dungeon is one big puzzle. The final thing to share about my dungeon designs philosophy is something that Game Maker's Toolkit brought up with the episodes on boss keys on the Minish Cap, which is really good, like you should definitely watch it. In the episode, Mark Brown talks about two dungeon types: follow the path and find the path. Follow the path is a linear approach. Room A leads to room B, then C, and you get the idea. It might, as shown, loop around, but it still follows the line. My first dungeon is a follow the path. I've done this because I wanted the player to get into the swing of the game, feel confident and be successful. Find the path is quite different though. It's all about working out how to get through the dungeon yourself. So I'm really keen to use Find the Path. Dungeon 2, 3 and 4, as well as the Master Dungeon, will all use this idea. I just like the idea that you can stock up on keys or you can use them as you get them. There's secret doors, things to find out, multiple options, and just gives you the freedom to play your way. So let me give you an example. This is the first true dungeon room in Dungeon 2. You enter here where the green arrow is and you get your treasure chest and get the first key. But you'll notice you've got 3 doors to choose from. In fact, if you look really carefully, there's actually a wall you can bomb, therefore giving you 4 exits with 1 key. And I just really like this. I just really think it's going to make it really exciting as a player, because you get this sense of freedom and every playthrough is going to be a little bit different because you can try it from a different approach. So looking back at the Find the Path and Follow the Path, you might notice that we've got these sort of curves coming out at the end. These are called fingers, which is an idea I got from this really good book from Scott Rogers called Level Up, and I highly recommend you read it. It talks about the idea of dead ends in a dungeon. So you're not just going through the dungeon, but you can explore off to the sides, and these might have secrets or they might be dead ends, but either way it will make the space feel much bigger. So that's about wraps it up for devlog number 5. I'm really excited about this project and I feel like I've got loads of ideas. 2 dungeons are done, 2 to go, plus the mastery. Don't worry, I've got so many different things going on as well. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you've not subscribed, do so. It really helps me. It gives me the confidence that I'm not the only one who thinks this could be good fun. Alright, if you haven't checked out my other videos, have a little look and let me know what you think. Until then, see you next time, and thank you so much for watching.